You're listening to Season 5 of the Three Angry Giant Fans and the Jet Fan podcast, where we detail the news and happenings of the Jets and Giants and talk about the highs and mostly lows that those teams provide us each week. We also tackle pet peeves and answer all listener questions. And in Season 5, we're kicking it up a notch. We have two new sponsors. The first is Carolina Beer Temple in Matthews, North Carolina, and the second is the gold standard of hairstyling butter, Rugged Uncle. Download our podcast at Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out our new website, www.angryfootballfans.com. Enjoy the podcast and go Jets and Giants.
Go out there first, second quarter, don't get the ball, start getting targets at the end. You can't do nothing. Start getting the ball when it's 30-0. What you want me to do?
Why in the first half are they not looking at you?
I don't know. Talk to Dave about that. Talk to Dave.
Did you say something to the coaches at halftime?
They know. They come up to me, ask me what plays I want. That was that. I don't know. Man.
So that was Malik Neighbors basically summing up every Giant fan's thoughts, a lot of the Giant players' thoughts, really just ripping into the soft-ass Giants, soft-as-fuck Giants, a team that was embarrassed at home again to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was mocked. The Tommy DeVito celebration was mocked. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And right now, our two franchises are in complete hell. So we are the Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jet Fan. This is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. And guys, there's not anything positive to take out of anything that's happened other than the Giants and the Jets have, secured draft positions pretty low at this point of the season.
Yeah, I keep waiting to hit rock bottom, and we just haven't. This is a bottomless pit of despair, dejection, depression, whatever. I've tried to come up with new adjectives to describe this Giants team, and Malik Neighbors did it for us, I guess.
I actually
soft
did.
as fuck. That's there's no. Remember the days on the pod where we used to break down the game and we talk about a turning, maybe a turning point here and there in the game. Like, what do you want to break down? Like, what's there to what can we? I don't know where to go. Yeah.
We've had
right
a bunch
away,
of these in a row.
Giants deferring the kickoff right away. I'm like, oh, great strategy. Let's have Tampa just shove it down our throats right to start the afternoon. Sorry, Mike. I was going to just back up your point. It's a wonderful point.
Usually this podcast is in the past been about, without this call or that call, or why did we go for it there? Or, if we had just gotten that first down, the whole game could have flipped. We haven't done that in weeks since we've done any kind of analysis like that, because it's not necessary. We're not talking about the games now. We're coming on every other season or every episode, and we're basically talking about the season as a whole. The game doesn't even matter anymore. We know what the outcome of the game is going to be.
Yeah, last year when, as a Jet fan, the defining shot was Zach Wilson being chased by like 5 defenders, and the offensive line are the other side of the defenders. The defining shot of the Giants this year has to be Brian Burns. The ball is hitting his foot, and he doesn't even look down to get the ball as it's rolling down the field, and the opposing quarterback gets the ball.
Yeah. Never seen that in an NFL game, or any game for that matter.
Never.
No.
Ball hit his foot.
The only thing that would have been worse is if Mayfield picked that up and ran it in, which he almost did. He did pick it up, and then they slammed him down. But before we get too deep into everything, let's give it a shout out. Might be our only positive of the night. So, hello, Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania. Population 9,735. It's a borough of Pittsburgh, and it's named after Colonel John Cannon. It's a big mining and steel mill town, or it was, and it has the second largest 4th of July parade in Pennsylvania, even though it's such a small town. And it's also the home of Doug Kotar, or was the home of Doug Kotar, Giants running back who tragically died of brain cancer in the early 80s.
Jersey number 44. Kotar.
44.
Yeah.
I thought when you
Is
said
that-
John Candy, I thought you were going to say John Candy for a minute. Founded by John Candy, because he's, every year I have to break out planes, trains, and automobiles since this is Thanksgiving week. So, if anyone has not seen that movie, I don't know how that's possible. I mean, that is an absolute holiday Thanksgiving must and a gem of all gems of all time. Del Griffith.
And I would never.
Yep.
I would
Del.
never say your story sucked, Del.
What was he selling? Shower curtain rings?
Shower curtain rings.
Curtain rings.
Yeah.
Don't you think our two franchises could use a couple of guys from Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Sounds right.
Right? Don't you just
Yeah.
imagine that anyone from there has got to be badass?
No
Yeah.
doubt.
These wusses we root
It's
for.
from what makes something a borough? This is Cannonsburg, a borough in Pennsylvania. It's a borough. I thought it was a burg because it's Cannonsburg, but no, it's a borough. I don't know I got to figure this out. I need to know the difference between like city, town, hamlet, borough. I need to know what all these
Township.
things mean.
Village.
Yeah.
Township. Yeah. Village, another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Giants Bucs, like we said, there's not much to recap here. The offense was really non-competitive in the first half. I think 10 passing yards at the halftime. DeVito was not an upgrade, and you know what? We didn't see Drew Lock really when we could have put him in the second half and at least given it a go. Illuminor got injured, and once he got injured, we had two turnstiles in there as tackles, and Baker Mayfield. I mean, typical blowout for the Giants, and Baker Mayfield strutting around doing the DeVito like this, like demonstrative. And the worst thing about that was in the post game, people were like, "Oh, Mayfield, he was so funny with the DeVito reference." I'm like, the guy's a jackass. He was rubbing it in our faces in a blowout. So like we said, we sucked. This isn't rock bottom probably, but it's about as low as you can go. And the only thing that was positive is we benefited from other teams actually competing that are bad like us when we didn't compete.
Yeah, this is not football. We are not. We're no longer in the National Football League. We've seen it deteriorate week after more and more each week. This is not professional football. What the Giants are putting on the field. How in the world? And this is and we're asking for this team to lose out now. I am all about tankathon. We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. Novak, you kind of reminded it while on the thread, but at the same time as you're watching it, even though you want the loss, I was laughing half the time when DeVito's getting blown up, incomplete passes, everything they were doing, I was just laughing at the Giants. But at the same time, it's so embarrassing and pathetic and demoralizing that you can't help but still be pissed off in some weird way as far as what this just for the fact that I still look around the league, and Scott, you just mentioned it. Tennessee goes into Houston. The Raiders are competing. The Carolina Panthers are giving the Chiefs a game. These teams are all competing. This New York Football Giants team is absolutely, and I don't care if it was Tommy DeVito or whoever it was out there. This is not football.
Yeah.
You know what's the most depressing thing, guys? There's still 6 games left. It's not like this is. It's not like this is Christmas and we got we're wrapping up everything. There's 6 games left.
6.
And we do have a dilemma because we want the tank possibly, but do we want the tank to come at the expense of this team completely getting obliterated and everyone in that building being about as demoralized as possible?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's a good thing we got rid of Jones, though. That's one problem taken care of, right? I mean, that was clearly that position looked much better now. But I'll go back to the Baker Mayfield thing. Who is this? This is like his only chance to do something like this, and of course he has to take it. Just what a jackass! You're mocking. The Giants are trying to tank, or they would have a better quarterback in there. They put a guy in to intentionally lose to you, and you can't help but run a victory lap on his ass. I mean, really, what a loser. I'm sorry. I got to kind of like Baker Mayfield, but he is a career loser. I mean, that's what the guy is. The Tampa Bay's not going anywhere as long as he's there. great, Baker. Sit there, beat up on cupcakes, and do your little mocking dances. It's really good, man. And then you could tell he felt immediately bad because in the press conference he's like, "Oh, that was a tribute to Tommy. I like Tommy. He's a good dude. As a tribute. Bullshit. You're full of shit. You're a loser, jackass who front runner." And I say front runner, although we really don't know because the dude has never been in front of anything. Loser, just a career loser. And when losers like that somehow get their chance, they play a cupcake and they get a chance to win a game, they got to go out there and take the victory lap because they can't help themselves because that's who they are. This is
how are you doing a tribute to a third string quarterback? Like a tribute is usually for someone who's died or retired or he's
a tribute.
He's actually had a career.
A tribute. That's what it was. And the other thing, I'll agree with, I don't remember who said it in the beginning, but there were plenty of opportunities to get Locke into this game. I was saying in the second half, I'm like, Dable, don't worry. We're not winning. You can bring Locke in now, just relax. I don't know where this team is going. I love Scott's point. I haven't really thought about it in those exact terms that, yes, we want a tank. Yes, we want a good draft pick to play with. But man, these next 6 games are going to be. You are talking about taking. I know people who are recent fans of the NFL probably don't realize this, but you are taking what was one of the proudest franchises in this sport and absolutely dragging them through the mud. We talked ad nauseum over the last 2 weeks about how, yes, this is worse than the 70s. It's not even really particularly close. That team yesterday was worse than anything we put on the field in the 70s, I believe. It's a disaster. It needs to end. I don't know how I'm going to do 6 more weeks of this.
Well, as a person that's well-versed in rock bottomness, I can promise the 3 of you that you've not hit it yet. And when we get to predictions, I'll tell you why. Because you're going to be there soon, and I'll tell you why we're going to do that. But that was, look, I've been there. I look many, many, many times. That was about as low as I can remember watching the Giants in my lifetime. Yeah. Because, Mike, you mentioned it with the Mayfield, Cutlets thing. That was in Met Death.
Yeah.
You do that in Tampa, fine. He did it on your home turf.
Yeah.
And what did you do to retaliate? Nothing. You just let it go. And then after the game, you hear your 3 best players, Lawrence, Neighbors, and I guess Illuminor is not one of your 3 best, but he's in there, right? He's a veteran.
Yeah.
Basically calling out the coach. It's over. Sorry. We saw this earlier in the year with the Jets when Quincy Williams, who's the most respected player in the Jets, called out Saleh basically by saying there's no accountability. I knew it was over. Same thing for you guys right now. It's done.
Yeah. Yep. And I know the media and the fans, they just love to hate on Daniel Jones. And as we've mentioned in the past, he is free game for some reason. Can you imagine an ESPN person coming on the air after Russell Wilson got cut, or after even our buddy Justin Fields, and acting that way? They were fucking giddy about it. And it's because Daniel Jones is a nice guy. There's no danger of retaliation. It's cheap. It's awful. This is even hard to fathom because we were bummed out earlier in the year. But guys, week 2 we lost to the Redskins because we didn't have a field goal kicker. Week 3, we go on the road and we beat a bad Browns team, but we convincingly beat them. Week 4, we come back, tough game against the Cowboys, lose by 5 in a game we probably should have won. Then the next week we go out to Seattle and win. We were bummed out then. We were competing. Played a really tough game that only got separated by more than 1 score because of a late touchdown by the Bengals. That was kind of it. The wheels came off after that. But, up through week 5 or 6 of this season, this team was competing, and they had been a little bit unlucky with a couple of things. And then, of course, another tough game, against the Commanders down the road, and then you lose to the Panthers. Now it's over. Now it's not just the wheels falling off the wagon. The wagon's on fire. people are running and screaming for their lives. But that was within this season. And we thought the product stunk then. This is awful.
Well, that's a great point, Mike, to go through the weeks, because I was thinking the same thing today, is that it wasn't that long ago where we were actually thinking that this team was showing some signs of life earlier in the year, especially the Seattle game, right? And then, you already mentioned the games. That's why this feels, even though it's been going on for years, because really, I thought about this today too, where, guys, this has really been since the Coughlin era ended, where this team has just been a shell of itself. It really has. Bad coaches, bad GMs, just bad, you name it. And now we can't seem to get out of this downward spiral, this never-ending misery nightmare that we're living in right now. And it's just amazing how we were hell-bent on signing Daniel Jones, and I was on that wagon as well, because you need quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's like that wild card win at Minnesota in 2022 was like the worst thing that could have ever happened. Because look at what's happened since then. We let Barkley just walk out of our lives, and now Daniel Jones is just gone. Yeah. It's like we've become, pick a team, like we've become the Jets. We've become Jacksonville. We are a gimmick and a fucking clown show and a comedy act. That's the New York Giants right now. And so that's why with DeVito, and knock it off with the media and fans who don't get it. Again, guys who don't get it, that they don't get it. We are a clown show right now, and I don't know how. I don't even know how to break this down. Don't know what they need other than the number one pick. They need the absolute to be number one on the clock. And even then, where do we go? What do we do? I'm just so demoralized, guys, and dejected that I'm barely functional. I'm serious. I almost can't even concentrate on I articulate what I'm trying to say.
No, it's hard to
brought this up. Go ahead, Mike.
You can go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Just say Novak brought this up during the game, and he just referenced it earlier too. I mean, so your team's down. Your team's hit almost rock bottom. You have a jabroni showing you up in your house. You have nothing to lose other than maybe just the fact that people might think you're poor sports. But take a 15-yard penalty and just crush Baker Mayfield and say, you can't do that in our house, even if we're a shitty team. The Raiders do it when they're good. So why couldn't we do it when we're bad?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the media's reaction to that, Scott, I think you're dead on. Tell me if you don't think this is accurate. If the Pittsburgh Steelers did that, the media would come on afterwards and it would say, oh, there you go. You don't do that in Pittsburgh. You don't do that in Pittsburgh. You don't. If the Giants did it, this is a dirty team. This is a dirty, desperate team who can't. You guarantee that would be the reaction. You just guarantee. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of everything. I mean, the one thing, and you know what? Dable's not out of my crosshairs either on this. If we could roll this season back to the start, and every time we ran a gimmick play when we got close to the red zone, and we rolled that back and just ran the ball there instead. If every time he went for it on fourth down and field goal range, we just kicked a field goal. If every time when we should have been punting on fourth down, he punted instead of going for it. If every time he went for two, he just went for one. This team could have 4 or 5 wins right now.
Mm-hmm. We fumbled on the Wildcat.
I mean, we can't do anything like that.
You had the opportunity to take Mayfield out too.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
running downfield blocking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's downfield blocking 50 yards down the field on I think it was Bucky Irving, some sort of run. And he's down there blocking on a 30-6 game. That's the time.
Yeah.
You had guys staring right at him. You could have leveled him, and they didn't.
Yep.
I was so disappointed. And
nobody
I'm dancing
cares.
on my pet peeve. I'm dancing on my pet peeve. But I was like, come on. You wouldn't even have gotten a flag. You could have leveled him at that point.
Yeah, that was you could have been blocking him right in the jaw.
Guys, we get it, but there's no heart. There's no soul. There's nothing there. There's nothing there left to care. And there's just not. So what's taking place on the field, it's so dysfunctional and so lost that all the things we're saying about that particular, about Baker Mayfield and how he could have been taken out or should have been taken out. There's no heart and soul in this team. There's nothing there. There's nothing left. They're sawdust. Not going to do anything.
And Novak mentioned earlier, we may not have hit rock bottom, but we play the Cowboys this week, and we're playing on Thanksgiving Day. Cowboys had a wild finish against Washington, just an inexplicable finish where they scored like 6 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes. Washington's missing extra points. Dallas gets 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns. One was on like a screwed up onside kick. But do we play DeVito? Do we play Locke? But here's the thing. If we put another showing together like we had against Tampa Bay on a nationally televised game on Thanksgiving, I don't know if Dable survives that night. I think on Black Friday, before the Raiders and Chiefs take the field or whoever it is, he might be gone because
it could be.
I don't know how you can have another performance like that to a division rival, to see Jerry Jones whooping it up in his box. It's going to be sickening.
I mean, that's certainly not off the table if we get embarrassed in that game, like we probably will and should.
Someone is climbing out of that fucking Salvation Army bucket that they trot out there every Thanksgiving. It's usually Ezekiel Elliott, and it's probably, why not? Feed me.
Yep.
He's going to be doing. Why not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
CD Lamb. Someone's going to be crawling out of the bucket. Why not?
Yep.
I don't know much more to break down with that game.
Who knows? Dable's benching our best player because he fumbles. Teach him not to fumble. For crying out loud, Tiki Barber's at the game. Have him come down. Where's Coughlin? Just stop this.
But isn't that even so typical? I was laughing even at that, like at Tracy fumbling. He's been like one of the few shining, bright spots in this season. And of course he has to have fumbleitis. It's everything we do. Novak, to your point about this, like everything this Giant team, they're not good at anything, and they do everything just bad enough to be. By the way, that was their 6th turnover in the red zone this season. Leads the NFL, most turnovers in the NFL. Like stats get trotted out every week, the things that you don't even realize exist. And when I heard that, I'm like, well, yeah, why not? Fuck it, just our 6th turnover in the red zone. Sure, of course it's the most in the NFL. Why not?
Yeah.
Who cares?
We're somehow going a full season without an interception. I think that's where Novak was going there.
I was going that. You haven't had an interception in 10 games.
That's awesome.
We got in the opener in garbage time.
That's just awesome.
You had a 4th and short, and you run a jet sweep. What are you doing? Like, come on! You were running up the gut, fairly decently that whole drive, and then you run a jet sweep. What? Come on!
Coming off a bye, we don't have Malik Neighbors, our best player, doesn't have a fucking target until the 3rd quarter. It's absolutely maniacal.
Again, Dable coaches like we're the Chiefs. He's got a speedy guy like Tyreek Hill or someone else that can run the jet sweep every time.
I could have told you as a Jet fan, Todd Bowles blitzes on as many times as he can, and the Giants acted as if they were shocked by this.
What is happening? They're blitzing. We didn't
again. 3rd time in a row. Yeah, it was like they were so unprepared after, and that's off your bye. I don't know, and I think that they completely botched the Daniel Jones thing, which is I was talking to you guys before we came on here. I mean, Jones officially was gone on the Friday before the game. You had 2 weeks to make that happen. It should happen 7 or 8 days prior to that Jones should have been gone so that you can get back to normalcy. So you had a bunch of that, and Jones was a beloved guy apparently in the locker room. You don't do it on the Friday before the Sunday. Stupid as that.
Yep.
You all knew it was going to happen.
Not that this matters either, but I was going to mention it earlier. By the way, did Tampa look like a team that had lost 4 in a row by any chance? Was anyone aware that they had lost 4 in a row? And here's Tampa's points against like the last 6 games prior to yesterday. 36, 27, 41, 31, 30, and 23. And then somehow they just snuff out the fucking Giants, scoring. This is where the New York Giants are. I mean, Tampa was giving up 33 points a game for the last 6 weeks, having lost 5 of the last 6, and they absolutely came into Met-Death and demolished this team. Demolished them.
Yep.
It's
just like Dallas being the worst run defending team in the league. There's that one blip. There's a one blip, very steady all year, terrible, terrible, terrible. And then just 1 week, they're amazing. And then right back to terrible. Just right down the line.
And did you see how much fun Tampa was having yesterday? I was thinking about that in the middle of the game. That one play where Irving was running up and Mayfield's out there fucking blocking. It looked like they were like just running through the countryside, just like after eating a bunch of gummies or something. Like they just were absolutely. I said, look at this team, how much fun this team is having. What does that feel like anymore?
We don't know. So, Jets get back on the field after a bye this week. Let's see if they look any better than the Giants. They are actually playing at home, but it's against Seattle coming cross country, and Seattle's put a couple of games together where they've looked decent. Novak, thoughts on that game?
Who gives a fuck? I mean, honestly, really, who cares about the Jets? I mean, I'm just so happy that I have you guys to commiserate with, because normally I'm by myself in misery with being a laughingstock, and you're now with me. But yet again, the Jets can't go a week without being in the fucking media. They hired the 33rd team. Have you seen this? Which is Mike Tannenbaum, who was the Jets GM like 15 years ago, to help them find their next GM and coach. Let's just why don't you just go get Joe Namath to come in and tell you who to hire? We're gonna go back to our last Jet actual positive experience in 2009. Oh, let's bring him back. He'll tell us who to hire. Here, Woody Johnson, I can save you millions of dollars. Here's what's going to end up happening. Like I said in the last pod, you're going to hire the GM from the Lions, the head coach from the Lions, and the backup coordinator or the backup quarterback from the Lions, because there's no creativity and you know what the fuck you're doing. So I'll save you all this money. Hire me. I'll tell you what to do, because you're going to do it anyway. It's just so stupid that we're hiring a GM that was fired 14 years ago to help us find the next GM and coach.
To find another GM.
What world are we living in that this happens?
Wait
So
Scott Pioli to get a chance.
Right, what are we doing? And so I don't care. Sunday, who cares? The Jets, Seahawks, Geno Smith gonna tear us up. Whatever. I don't care. Rodgers, and I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to get blown out. Rodgers will go down halfway-ish through the game with like I told you last week, he's going to go down with a hamstring injury or some kind of injury. He'll be put on IR and be done for the year. It's so predictable, and they're such a joke. And the sad thing is, we're not as much of a joke as you, because we've always been a joke. You guys are a bigger joke because you've never been one, and now you are. I mean,
it's been a joke the last 5 of the last 7 years or so. We've been a joke, but
but
Cardone likes to point out that we've been a joke much longer than people think. I think.
Yeah, but like I said before we got
been
on,
since 2013.
You've been living off of 4 Super Bowls for the longest time, and I feel like this year finally that you can't live off that anymore. That those times are over.
So,
I've always been this, so it doesn't matter. I've always been this. You guys are now with me, so welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man.
Anytime. Misery loves company, man. I'm happy to have you with me.
It's Met Death. Blame it on Met Death. It's that fucking stadium. I hate that stadium. I despise that stadium. Despise it.
So, Mikey, I'll turn it over to you for predictions.
For our picks, all right. We had.
By the way, Cardone. Without Cardone last week, we cruised. We were like at predictions in like 12 minutes, and then we still went an hour and 45 minutes.
Well, this is therapy, man. You can't stop. You just it's grieving really and it's
So Novak and Cardone went 2-0 last week in the picks. By the way, the score of the Giants game was 30-7, 24-10. We were all kind of all over that. 27-10 for Cardone. I mean, that's really good, man. That's right in there. Like Scott and I were talking before we came on, we'd like to have that San Francisco pick back. We didn't have all the intel when we made that pick. We didn't check our injury reports, I guess. But anyway, Novak and Cardone went 2-0. Scott and I went 1-1 because we all know better than to pick the Giants anyway. So Novak leads off at 16-8. Then it'll be Cost next at 14-10. Cardone at 14-10, and then Mike has fallen to the cellar at 13-11. So Novak, kick us off. Either game you want.
All right, I'm going to start with the Giants. So I said I was going to hold it for this. You guys have not hit rock bottom. And like I said, as a person that has experienced rock bottom, I don't know, 15 times in my lifetime, you've never been there in your lifetime. I think you're not quite there, but you're about to hit it on Thursday. And here's what's going to happen. You need a national television embarrassment. The butt fumble, the Fail Mary. I know what that is. You're going to experience it on Thursday. Something's going to happen, an embarrassing play. The national TV is going to be watching on Thanksgiving. It's going to happen. It'll be a name play. I don't know what the play is going to be.
Wow.
But that's going to happen to you guys this week. So then you will finally hit rock bottom. So with that, I think the Cowboys are going to blow the Giants out 31-10. For the Jets, they are always at rock bottom, so I can't go any further. So I do think the Jets this might surprise you, I think the Jets will actually play well coming out of a bye. But I do think Rodgers is going to get hurt somewhere through the middle of the game. Tyrod Taylor will come in, probably keep them close. And I think the Jets will keep this close. So I'm going to say 27-24 Seahawks.
Mr. Cost.
So the Giants are going to lose like on a play called the turkey trot or something.
There's going to be something. The fumble-rooski or something.
Stop it.
There'll be something. There'll be a name play because the Giants are so bad.
The ugly gobble.
It's not a prediction.
So I had mentioned earlier, I think the Giants are going to have a national embarrassment on national TV. I think this may constitute a change at quarterback. At coach. I don't know if there's going to be a named play coming out of this other than just it's the day before Black Friday and it probably will be appropriate. So I'm not sure any of us are going to change position or anything else in these picks because I'm going to have the Giants losing to the Cowboys 33-9. And then in the Jets game, I was optimistic, for the Jets against the Colts, and they came out and I thought they should have won that game. The Seahawks have a little bit of energy. They're on a roll. They're throwing the ball downfield. Geno Smith somehow is, back to being cocky as hell. And I think they come into Met Death and deliver yet another death blow that teams have been delivering to our teams. And they're going to win this game 28-7.
Wow, going steep.
Wow.
With the margin of victory.
Cardone?
Which that doesn't happen anymore because no teams ever kick 4 extra points and the other team kick 1 extra point. It's going to be like 28-6, 28-11.
Yeah, 28-7 is an odd score now.
Yeah.
Be,
if you've noticed, it's funny. Like I used to write down or at least memorize coaches not going for or going for 2 when they should or going for on a 4th down. I don't even bother because it's not even worth bringing up anymore. If you notice, I haven't brought one up in a long time. It's like I watch around the league and I just scoff and laugh at every one of these fucking coaches and just shake my head like, fuck it, go for it. Go up. Detroit at one point against who they just beat, Indianapolis. Whatever. Early in the game, they had like an 8-point lead, had a chance to go up by 11. Campbell doesn't take the field goals like a 30. Fuck it. Like go up by 2 scores on the road. Fuck it. Just like it's just they won the game anyway. But anyway, there's not gonna be a lot of changes here, guys. I mean. Scott, you almost had the same exact score I have for the Giants. Novak, excellent prediction, man. Like some kind of a name play. I love this idea. I'm gonna have to try to come up with it between now and then. I was gonna hopefully I could have something clever here by the end of the time we go off the air here tonight, but I don't know if I could, like, I don't know if I could think that fast for like coming up with the name of the play. But no, this is, again, we're not competing. I don't care who's playing quarterback for Dallas or what's going on. This could be the bucket bash or something like that, the Salvation Army fucking surrender or some kind of play like that. Or so. Give me Dallas. I had 33-13. I got a lot of threes in there. So yeah, Dallas 33-13. We definitely get embarrassed. That includes like a late garbage score from the Giants. So it's going to be just a wipeout on Thanksgiving Day. I'm actually apologizing to people that have to sit and endure that game on Thanksgiving afternoon when they're trying to look for some good NFL football. You're not going to get it. So apologize to the country for having to sit through the fucking New York Giants on Thanksgiving. And then Met Death is gonna claim another a loss for the Jets on Sunday. So I don't know exactly how that game's gonna go down, but I just got Seattle winning, kind of a close one. Less than a score there. I got Seattle winning 24-20. Met Death just continues to roll on, baby. Can't win there. Jets and Giants will not win. Seattle, I mean, they need that game. I could just see the whole headline: Geno Smith coming back to burn his ex-team, something like that. You can already see it.
It's gone like 7 years ago, and we're still
exactly. It doesn't matter though. No, you know how that works. It doesn't matter. The
Geno Smith revenge game.
Revenge game.
Revenge games now. Yeah.
Yep. Revenge game from years and years ago. Yep. These guys already been, he's been comeback player of the year, that kind of bullshit. Seattle and
been on
comeback.
4 other teams since.
Yeah, it's been on multiple teams. Revenge game against the New York Jets. Yep.
All right. So I of course have Dallas too. There's no way you're picking the Giants in that game, right? This is Thanksgiving. Dallas is at home. It'll be a lot like Tampa Bay last week, but worse because Dallas still has some talent on their roster. They just can't get their shit together. But we all know they'll get it all together on Thanksgiving Day, and it'll be ugly quick, and we'll probably see Drew Lock in this game. I have very little doubt about it. I usually say this as a joke. I mean it. The Giants will not score in this game. I have a hard time. Sometimes I just throw that out there as like a joke. I honestly believe that Dallas wins something in the neighborhood of 33-0, 40-0, somewhere there. I'll say 40-0, just to match up with that embarrassment from last year as well. But I mean it. I don't think the Giants will score in this game. Dallas's defense they're embarrassed. They're mad. You could see it against the Redskins, although they didn't show it. They gave up just the most inexplicable passing touchdown I've ever seen in my life, I think. How does a team give that up and then still win the game? Cardone, can you imagine the Giants giving up that play and then winning the game? Like, are you shitting me?
Of course not.
Unbelievable. Can you even imagine that? And then I'm going to pick the Jets. I'm going to pick the Jets because I have to make a move here. I have to get some luck. I've got to make a move. I'm sitting in last place. I can either spiral to way last, and the move wasn't going to be picking the Giants. I couldn't do that. I got the Jets winning 16-13 in overtime. With the clock getting near like the potential tie.
Oh yeah.
It's like where everyone's a little bit worried. Oh no, they've only got 2 minutes left. So, and it'll be, I agree with Novak's prediction about Aaron Rodgers this week, actually. So it'll be Tyrod Taylor leading them back to overtime and then to win in overtime.
That's eerily specific.
Yes. Looks like I have a time machine. We'll see.
What a pathetic state of affairs. Did you hear what we all just said? I mean, the Giants, all 4 of us said the Giants are getting blown ass out. Mike is only picking the Jets so he can catch up to us in a betting situation.
I admit
it.
We're sawdust.
We're so bad.
So around the league, you guys got anything? I mean, we talked about the wild finish in Washington and pretty wild finish in Houston too. Will Levis made some terrible throws during that game, and then all of a sudden when the game's on the line, they come back and they pull it out against Houston. Again, 2 teams equal to the Giants who competed and won. we talked about it earlier, and that the fact that Mike and I didn't know that Purdy wasn't going to play when we made our prediction last week, but Niners are in trouble. Niners are
Yeah.
in last place in that division and not teetering on missing the playoffs, which they really going to need a miracle right now to make the playoffs. They got a couple more tough games left. Cardone brought it up earlier when he said the Panthers gave the Chiefs a game. I mean, it took that team into overtime or almost overtime, which we knew Mahomes would pull it out before overtime. But Panthers made plays. They competed. All the fringe teams they gave it their all, and again just made it more annoying for the Giants. One team again that came back after they looked like they were dead, and they almost had the 14-point 2-point conversion to cut it to 8 because they failed at it. They almost had it pay off. The Bears tied the Vikings, went to overtime, and lost.
I mean, I think that's just it for around the league. I think the story around the league this year is these teams who you would think would be packing it up like the Giants are not, because they're men and they're professionals and they're going out there and they're leaving their ass on the field. And look at the Carolina Panthers, by the way, guys. I mean, how easy would that have been for them to lay down? 2 wins in a row, Kansas City coming off a loss. I mean, everything spelled doom for the Panthers in that scenario. And that wasn't any sort of fluke. They hung in that game the entire game. They got stops on third down. They troubled Mahomes. I don't know where the defensive backfield came from, but they had receivers locked down. I mean, I mean, this sounds ridiculous right now. I want the Carolina Panthers fight. Yeah. I mean, how crazy of a statement is that?
I was told over the weekend, or someone had mentioned like, well, Cardone, at least you're not the Panthers. I'm like, you're goddamn right we're not. I said, you guys beat us, and you're competing against the Chiefs. I said, you guys are much better than us, much, much better. The same as Ted Danson compared to Costanza when it comes to acting in a sitcom. Much, much worse than the Panthers we are. So, yeah, we're not the Panthers. You guys are much better than us. Like, And here's a couple things around the league I wanted to bring up before I failed to mention these. 2 things I wanted to mention. One just came to me, but I had written the other one down. I obviously cursed every place kicker in the NFL since like week 4 because I was talking on one of our pods about a month or so ago how I think it was my pet peeve how like 65-yard field goals are chip shots now and everything goes through the uprights. Have you guys noticed the misses around the league?
It's unbelievable all of a sudden.
It's wild. It's all of a sudden like overnight. It's as if these kickers forgot how these guys turn into mental cases when they once they miss a few kicks. But it's become like an epidemic. Every single kick that is nothing seems to be a gimme all of a sudden. I think I put the hex or the curse on these kickers when I called out and said this is bullshit. Like 50+ yarder. These guys are 90%, 50%, whatever percent. And now these guys are everything's shaky. And I called the miss. I didn't say it out loud, but I said it in my head. That what's his name, Siebert on the on Washington. After they had that wild touchdown, I said it. I'm thinking to myself, he's gonna miss. He's gonna miss this extra point. And I don't know. And that wasn't even close.
Sure
that one wasn't even
close. Like Greg Olson and say, you got to go for 2 there.
Yeah. That was a duck snort right there. That was one of those, first tee when you're all hung over and you just snap hook one right into the damn woods on the first hole. That's what that kick was, just a duck snort. But my other point I wanted to make, and I was going to save this to Scott's like, you got anything else, guys? I'm like, yeah, I got something. I'm going to fucking throw it out there right now. Mr. NFL or Mr. Goodell or whoever makes these rules, I thought the stationary cemented to the ground dynamic kickoff that we had was supposed to prevent injuries. Well, Austin Eckler got knocked the fuck out on a kickoff return, did he not?
Yes,
he did.
So I thought we had done away with the injuries on the kickoff returns. NFL, where did that go? Can we just bring the kickoff back? Because ask Eckler if they're safer or if they're, if they're non-injury prone, because that guy he looked dead. He was so dead, the camera, it was like one of those guys streaking on the field. The camera wasn't showing Eckler laying on the ground. They were doing everything they could to show like Quinn and the coaches and players huddling around. I'm thinking, like, is Eckler's head off his body? What happened to the guy? We couldn't even show it. And then like one of the and they love the word gruesome, right? I saw one headline, Eckler suffers gruesome injury. I'm like, gruesome injury. The guy got hit in the head. That's usually reserved for the leg snapping in half. That's the old gruesome injury. Eckler suffered a gruesome injury. We couldn't see him laying on the ground, concussed.
My thing from around the league is, there's football and all three other sports when it comes to the importance of coaching. Look at what Jim Harbaugh is doing.
Yes.
Look what Mike Tomlin. I mean, we talked about Mike Tomlin. We're not going to beat that horse to death again. But Jim Harbaugh the team has 2 losses and they're winning. They're beating the Ravens. You see the importance of coaching in the NFL. It is not nearly the same in any other sport. And for whatever reason, the Jets can't get it right. Clearly, the Giants haven't for a long time. I continue to watch these other teams, see how well they're coached, and just am envious of these teams that hire the right person for the right job that knows how to coach a team. And it's just unbelievable the difference that it makes.
It is. I'll give you one more. McVay, the Rams somehow.
Yes.
Stafford and the Rams all of a sudden win a Super Bowl because they had a pretty damn good head coach. I still think he's one of the best coach. He is. He's one of the best coaches in all of the NFL. And guess what? Guy won a Super Bowl. So yeah.
By the way, that reminds me, I have to call out Dan Orlovsky again. So this fucker last week. Now the Steelers did lose to the Browns in the Snow Fest, the first snow game of the year. But prior to that game, Orlovsky was talking about how the Steelers can't compete with teams like, he called out the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills by kicking field goals. And when he said it, it was 3 days after the Steelers literally beat the Ravens by just kicking field goals. They kicked 6 of them to beat the Ravens.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
These guys are so... it's almost like a parody now. They don't even hear themselves and how stupid they sound. But you can't make a statement like that when our memories are that short, and we just have to look back to the Sunday before and go, Mr. Orlovsky, I saw Boswell kick 6 field goals, and they walked off winning.
Again, I love bringing other sports into those kinds of, and going with the analogy, like that's like baseball. Like you can't win with singles and doubles. You got to hit home runs. Otherwise, you can't win. You can't. You're going to hit you're going to not shoot 3-pointers in the NBA. You're not going to win by hitting 55 2-point shots, driving down the lane and dominating the paint. Come on. You need the 3-point shot. It's insane. It's absurd. Those do count as points. When a ball goes through the uprights, it counts. There's points.
Yep. That's always been, you guys know how I've been about that. Field goals are, it used to say, like in a close game, if you have to go down and kick a field goal, that's not what you wanted. Damn it. We need to tie the game on that drive. That's okay to say settle for a field goal. When you're up by 21 and you're driving down the field and you stall out in field goal range and kick a field goal, you're not settling for that field goal. That was the intent of that drive, to get up by more than 3 scores. Like every field goal is a settle. Now, I swear to God, you could be in overtime lining up to kick the game-winning Super Bowl, and some jabroni on TV would be like, well, it looks like they're settling for the field goal here. Hey, what are you talking about?
And you know what's great about this, Mike? On the other side of the ball, I don't know about you guys, but I know when my team is on defense, like I have a thing, like it kind of bothers me when the other team scores any fucking kind of points. So I don't understand why, even when you hold a team to a field goal, how like the defensive coordinator is high-fiving everybody, everyone's jacked up, they're clapping. I go, I don't understand. Like we still gave up points on that drive. Isn't the idea or the objective to stop the other team and force a punt and get the ball back? Why do we have to celebrate field goals on defense as if we accomplished I don't understand. We still just gave up 3 points, and the defensive coordinator is like, just clapping wildly. Why? Why do we do that?
Everyone's so brainwashed into that the field goal is a loss.
Yeah, you just went 80 yards in 7 plays, and they're high-fiving.
Well,
Yeah.
we're watching
Good
it
job.
right now. So we're recording on a Monday night. The Chargers have a 7-0 lead against the Ravens, and on 4th and 1 from the 30, they're going to go for it rather than get a 10-point lead.
Make
And
it stop.
they did make it, but yeah. So the second half of the podcast is going to be a bit of a throwback pod because I know a couple of the questions are going to be talking about nostalgia, and Cardone brought up something that he didn't even think I was going to talk about here. So, he didn't play football, this guy, and he was a fictitious baseball player. But one guy who could have been a rugged uncle model years ago, had it existed back then, was Sam Malone / Ted Danson.
Sammy Malone.
Yes.
He still got a glorious head of hair.
Great head of hair.
So you could see him slinging drinks with the Premier styling butter out there, keeping his hair in place. And he could, legislate as a mayor without any messiness on his dome. He's just a cool cat who rocks the Wagyu beef tallow and smells like mango. Be rugged, even when having to deal with Cliff Clavin types. Be rugged and be classic. Go to ruggeduncle.com, use code AngryFans and get 20% off your order. You guys had no idea I was going to talk about Ted Danson, and Cardone mentions Ted Danson literally 5 minutes before I
that's incredible. That's unbelievable.
Wild.
Mayday Malone. Yeah.
Could you imagine the tale that Mayday Malone would have been bringing in if he had Rugged Uncle?
Can you imagine?
Seriously.
The guy,
That'd
he
been
did pretty
better
damn
than
well.
Rebecca.
He did well.
He did really well. Yeah.
Didn't
he have like his own? He had like a special comb, I think, in some hidden case. It wasn't that. I believe one episode something came out where the guy had amazing hair. I mean, he must have been using Rugged Uncle.
Yeah.
And if anyone's listening to this podcast,
and like just it could withstand any kind. That was an awesome head of hair Danson had. He still does. And he's how old is that guy? How old is Ted Danson? 75, 80?
Gotta be in
He's not that old, is he?
Got it.
Gotta be in the mid-70s.
Yeah. One of my favorite characters of all time, Sam Malone. Sammy.
I'll just say real quick, anyone listening to this podcast, Scott Cost is the great pitchman of all time. I mean, every week he's bringing it with a new, innovative way to pitch Rugged Uncle. If you're listening to this and you know someone that has a product, you got to get us in there because Scott knows how to pitch. Just saying.
Legendary.
He is legendary.
Danson,
I mean, every week he's bringing it.
Darren tells me that Ted Danson is 76 years old.
76 years
76.
old. Who would have thought Ted Danson would have been tied to Rugged Uncle? But it all makes sense.
Who's he? He's somebody. What about me? You're nobody. Why him? Why not me? He's good. You're not. I'm better than him. You're worse.
Worse.
Much, much worse.
So,
Scott's
Mikey.
Billy Mays. The Billy Mays, the pitch man.
Gee, did Billy
Vince-
Mays get
Vince
arrested and
Schlobie.
then kill himself or something?
I don't know. I didn't mean for that. I just meant for him pitching OxyClean to me for so many years.
I think Billy Mays died of an exploded heart from doing too much coke, and the other guy, the ShamWow guy, got arrested.
Oh,
The slap chop guy.
Yeah.
Vince
So,
Schlobie.
Mike, pet peeves, Mike.
Man, I had a pet peeve that I'm going to use that I want to use, but somebody mentioned something earlier and it set off me and my brain exploded. What the hell is Andy Reid doing making a jackass of himself in these commercials? Why is he out there?
That was me. I said it.
Oh my God. There's one a few years ago. You're going to eat those nuggies? Like, why does he lower himself to that? I don't understand. Is he not allowed to watch them? Does he think that's like an outtake they're not going to use? I don't know. Anyway, the real pet peeve I have this week is from a guy in college football who could actually win the Heisman. I think he's a pretty good player. That's the running back from Boise State, Ashton Jeanty. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this guy is very good. Definitely a first-round running back. A lot of places right now have him going to Dallas, which does scare me. So this is nothing negative about Ashton. Wonderful player. Blah, 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 all that. My pet peeve is it started coming out in the media today how much better numbers this guy has than past Heisman winners. So they're comparing him to Derrick Henry in 2015 and Mark Ingram and, just you name it, the receivers for Alabama and the LSU guys and all of these guys. So I just had to look, everyone knows Boise State is not, playing Alabama's schedule. But so I just had to go look. And so Ashton Genty has over 1,000 yards this season in 4 games. He has Georgia Southern, he put 260, 270 on. Washington State, he put 260 on. Nevada, he went for about 250. And Hawaii, he went for like 248. So that's over 1,000 yards of these stats that people are comparing to Derrick Henry, by the way, for Alabama, and saying this guy is way better than Derrick Henry's ever going to be. Now, as I think I prefaced very well in the beginning, Ashton Genty is a fabulous running back. I have nothing against him, and the fact that he can put up those numbers against anybody is impressive. But I looked at Derrick Henry's schedule in 2015 when he won the Heisman. So he played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ranked teams that year. They included Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Georgia, Texas A&M, LSU, Mississippi State, Florida, Michigan State, who was number 3 at the time, they're a pretty good team, and then Clemson in the national championship game. So I think Derrick Henry's numbers might have been a little bit better if he had the Georgia Southern, Portland State, Nevada, Hawaii swing and that Alabama schedule. But so the pet peeve there is just, and I've used this before with different examples, but just the inability, the laziness that the media uses, that they never take the opponent into account. And it happened in our game a little bit this week. Oh, Baker Mayfield's back. And I'll look at Mike Evans out there running around like he's a young man. Guys, they're playing the Giants. Tampa Bay will go back and lose next week conveniently to whoever they play. You have got to. You can't just anoint these guys based off one window games. No one's back. Nobody, like the Dallas run defense was back a few weeks ago, right? When they played the Giants, as I mentioned earlier. Nope. Boop. Right back to be sucking after that game. So give it a rest. Use a little bit of history. It's okay to say that Ashton Genty is a great running back without having to compare him to one of the great running back seasons of all time against real competition. And at least when you do that, you could bring up, well, now, Derrick Henry played a little bit of a tougher schedule that year. But just give it a rest. Don't be lazy. It's okay to say someone's playing well and doing well without having to find someone else to compare them to when the comparison is not apt and it's not apples to apples.
If he gets drafted in the top 10, are we going to hear about the team that took them being so stupid to draft a running back that high?
Unless the Giants take him.
Yeah.
No, Dallas will take him, and everyone will be just can't wait to get a nut off to that.
So I'm going to go next because I think Mike brought this up earlier, but my pet peeve was what he mentioned, and her name is Elle Duncan. She slammed on Daniel Jones on ESPN in a segment, ripping apart his speech that he gave when he was up at the podium basically before his release. And they're making Daniel Jones, they're mocking him. And not only does she come out and do this, but then the next day, Stephen A. Smith is there supporting her take, saying, the Giants are a bad football team. This is what you should expect when you're a bad football team. And you're an ESPN personality, and I know you're doing it for clicks and you're doing it for likes and everything else. It's so low class, and it just makes me wonder where that organization, what sports journalism has become. Because if you're going to go out and do what she did to Daniel Jones, first off, it better be funny. And second off, it better be delivered flawlessly. And neither of those things happened. And when people got on her case the next day, the best she could do is put a tweet out there about how it's snowing near her because she sees snowflakes all over the place. We aren't snowflakes. We're not, I could care less if you're going to sit there and make fun of someone. At least make it entertaining and do it for a reason other than just to beat a man when he's down. I can't stand any hack, let alone a hack that's unfunny and one that's just shitting on a person for no reason other than he makes a convenient target and everyone yucks it up around him, where Daniel Jones has done nothing but carry himself with class. Even if you don't think he's a great quarterback or even a good quarterback, the man did nothing to deserve something like that as he's going out the door. Mike said it earlier. I'll say it again, but you get these attention whores that all they want are clicks, and they get them and they think they're famous for a while. L. Duncan, your 5 minutes of fame are done. You know, you're trash.
And you're bringing nothing clever or insightful to the analysis, right? It's so you're, first of all, you're too late to the party, and then just to bag on the franchise and to bag on this particular player. It's quite frankly, it's boring, and you're not intelligent. You're not bringing anything that's clever as a sports journalist. Nothing.
It's just a reflection of where we are in society now. Scott, you said it best. He carries himself with class, right? Daniel Jones always has. No one will debate that. No one will. I mean, he's got to the podium every time. He didn't hide behind a helmet. He didn't send someone else to the podium. He'd never refused an interview. Good guy by all accounts. In the day and age we live in, that makes you a target now. You're easy. Yeah. You're easy. You're a target. You're open to be mocked and ridiculed, where frankly, some of these other guys who don't carry themselves with class, I'm looking at you, Baker Mayfield, don't get this kind of treatment, but don't get this thing unless it's from me. But yeah, the key thing there is carries himself with class. You put a target on your back when you do that, because in this new sort of society that we live in, where, you can't disrespect people and you can't, or whatever repercussions there are from that are justified. That what Daniel Jones and Eli Manning and, if we're on a Giants-Jets podcast, who else did that? Mark Sanchez, always a classy guy, and just targets for ridicule. And it's okay. And we live in an age too where the media seemingly doesn't like to ridicule people. They stay away from that whenever they can, but there's certain guys who have a target on them that it's okay. And those guys are the guys that we used to say carry themselves with class.
And you know what else too? She made fun of Daniel Jones for reading off a statement because he went to Duke. It's like, for Christ, like Cardone said, it's not original. It's boring. Yeah, it's not boring. Funny. If you're gonna do a piece like that, you better have people falling out of their chairs laughing. Be a roast master or something. If Jeffrey Ross was there, Jeffrey Ross would have been able to rip Daniel Jones. I get it. L. Duncan, you can't.
Yeah, and it goes for all across all sports landscape, where it's the other way around. It used to be where the troublemaker, the guy that was the cancer in the locker room, the guy that was they were the ones that came under heat from the media and were called out. And the guys that just went about their business, did their job, stayed quiet, stayed out of trouble off the field. Those guys are mocked and ridiculed now in today's fucking warped social media that we live in. It's complete other way around, where we celebrate guys that are head cases out there. It's just. I can't. I'm too, man. I'm way old school for that bullshit. Just it grinds my gears and gets me going. Yeah.
Novak, pet peeve?
Yeah, I'm staying in sort of the same vein here with my pet peeve, and I don't mean to throw shade at the Giants on this, but when you think about pet peeves, it's supposed to be what annoys us and bothers us the most. And I got to say that the not retaliating on Baker Mayfield for what he pulled in that game was symbolic of what I feel the NFL is now. Because can you imagine back in the early 80s, and I don't want to sound like an old fart, like on a...
That's what I am. Go ahead.
Like, can you imagine back in the 80s, someone doing that in your home field, mocking your other team and not getting retaliated upon? I mean,
yeah.
What Cardone has called it the pussification of the NFL. Like,
yeah.
Look, I was a fan of the Jets back in the early 80s, and they used to say, the Jet players used to say, we hated it that Gastineau used to do his sack dance because we were getting retaliated upon every fucking game
Mm.
because he was making a spectacle of himself. But that was his thing. And Baker Mayfield is mocking your player in your stadium in a blowout game, and you don't take the opportunity to knock the fuck out of him. Like, and it's not just the Giants. I'm not mocking the Giants here. I just hate that they can't, like the NFL, like even in baseball, like they still throw at a guy if he celebrates a home run too much. Or in hockey, if you do something, you're going to get leveled on the next time you're out on the ice. Yeah. Even in basketball, in a hard foul, you're getting taken out on the next play. But the NFL, for whatever reason now, we can't retaliate anymore. And I hate that that is what we now are. So my pet peeve is the pussification. I know we've said it before, but this weekend showed it to me. And it's not just because it's the Giants. It was like pathetic. They couldn't take that guy out after what he did. Not just the Tommy Cutlets thing. He also started the Isaiah Simmons. Knock the guy out.
Yeah. Yep. To Cardone's point earlier, man, they don't care. They just don't care. No. They don't care. They're probably going to ask Baker to exchange jerseys after the game. Yeah. After that, I mean, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit.
No, because that you're going back to the legendary NFL where you had team identity and you had a team camaraderie with your teammates and stuff, and it was like, and like you said, Novak, you don't do that to our guy or to in our stadium. And that's all gone today. It's just a different professional sports landscape. It's all it is. Especially in NFL. I mean, but you made the point as you were talking about that. I was thinking, happens in baseball. Guys will still get thrown at. You're protecting your teammate. You see that in other sports, and you already outlined the other ones. But yeah, you're right. In the NFL, you just don't see that, man. It's like the guys. Those days are gone.
And it's even recent, not too far distant. You remember when Terrell Owens spiked the ball at the Cowboys star and George
never forget it. Yeah,
just came up and leveled him.
Yeah,
did that happen today? No, he
probably
would spike the ball on that star and no one would do a damn thing.
Yeah, that's a good example. Nothing might happen.
No. The fact that the media didn't call out Baker Mayfield for doing that is part of the problem too. There were actually people saying that they were like, "Oh, look at Baker Mayfield. He's having fun out there, making fun of Tommy Cutlets."
Yeah, having fun. Yeah. Give me a break. He should have been just 15-yard penalty on the next time he got the ball. I don't care if he threw the ball 5 seconds later. He should have been slammed to the ground by somebody.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know if the Giants defensive line could have even got to him 5 seconds after the play. Didn't look like it during the game.
Right.
They were probably trying as hard as they could. They just, plays over. They're still fighting the offensive lineman. It's there. Yeah. Yeah. We didn't mention this before, and it kind of goes with what Novak's saying a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I got it in tonight. Lawrence Tynes posted after the game and on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it these days, but he said, the Giants organization made a business decision on Friday, and the Giants players made one on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's good. That's good. Yeah. The Giants said, why are we out here playing hard, risking injury exactly, when everyone from the top to the bottom of this organization and across the league, no matter how much they want to hate on Daniel Jones, they 100% know that it's not even close. He gives us the best chance to win these games.
Cardone, pet peeve?
Yeah, I have two. I don't even know what to call these pet peeves other than just observations from, watching games. They both occurred in the same game and happened to involve the same coach. I'm talking about Sirianni and the Eagles last night. So I don't know if you guys watched that game, but for our listeners, there were two distinct plays in this game it both involved coaching decisions. So the first one, if you guys remembered, I think it was the first drive of the game. The Rams had a nice drive going, and they get down to the Eagle. They get a 1st and 10 at the Eagle 17. They have a nice drive going, scoreless game, first drive, and they one of the whoever it was, Williams, I think, fumbled or appeared to fumble, but they called it. They called the guy down. The officials came in and marked him down, and they showed the replay, and it clearly looked like a fumble, right, on the replay. But the Eagle sideline and Sirianni didn't, they were thinking about the challenge flag. You could hear, Collinsworth or whatever talking about, not Collinsworth. They were talking about should they throw the flag or, the challenge flag. So they ran another play. They started to run another play. I thought the rule was always as soon as you run that other play, it's too fucking late to throw the flag. So then they show the sideline camera, and the goddamn ball boy was on the sidelines was getting the officials' attention to tell him that Sirianni threw the challenge flag. And I'm thinking, like, sorry, man, it's too late. You already ran another play. Everyone knows that as soon as you run that next play. But nope. They came in. The Rams knew to get the play off quick. They came in and quickly ran another play. Nope, the official came in after the fact, and they granted the challenge, and it was a fumble. So the call was correct. But it was one of those things where, like, sorry, man, too late. You've got to make it. Someone on your coaching staff has to make a decision immediately. That drives me nuts now that they just allow. We've seen it. And that was not the first time I've seen that. I'm sure you guys have observed and witnessed this before, where now it's as soon as the next play is, they snapped, they're still allowing that challenge flag. It's bullshit. So they granted that one. Turned out it was a turnover. But this one, the next one was worse. Later in the game, Philly's up 27-14 now, and the Rams are driving. They have let me get this right. The Rams get down to the Philly 14, and it's only what now? It's a 13-point game, and they have a 3rd and 3. So it's an incomplete pass. So now it's 4th and 3, but there's also offensive holding on the play. So and Sirianni and I was thinking, like, well, you got to push them back because they just may fucking go for it, right? It's the NFL, Sirianni. Everyone goes for it. So they they decline the penalty, and then the Ram offense stays on the field. It's 4th and 3 at the 14, and all of a sudden Sirianni, like, fucking 5 minutes later, decides, no, we want to accept the penalty now. We want to accept it. So I'm thinking, that's up to the official to say to them, fuck you, dude, it's too late. You already declined. You already declined the penalty. We're not going to allow you now to mark off the 10 yards, which they did. And then Stafford ends up getting sacked on the next play. They lose another 5 yards. So now it turns into a 47-yard field goal. And guess what? The asshole missed it because all kickers miss now, like I referenced earlier. So instead of so Siri. And I was thinking, that's the same thing as when Jerry tried to return the sports coat to the Andover shop with Craig because he didn't care. When the manager asked for the reason why he wanted to return, he's like, I didn't care for the salesman who sold it to me. So you're returning it for spite? Yeah, I guess so. And the guy's like, well, I'm sorry, we can't take that reason. That's not a real reason. All right, well, I just don't want it anymore. Nope, sorry, you already said spite. That's what the official needs to say to Sirianni. Like, nope, sorry, you already declined the penalty. We're not going to mark off those 10 yards. So Sirianni gets away with not only the fucking reversing the call, he then gets a sack on the next play and a missed field goal. And we know what, and then, Philly goes on to win the game. But I mean, my pet peeve is both of those where it's I'm just sick and tired of the officials granting late challenge flags and then also the decision to change. I've seen that one before too, where a coach makes a decision to accept or decline a penalty. But what was Sirianni thinking? He's like, oh shit, the Rams are actually going for it. Yeah, we'll move him back 10 yards. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, asshole.
Well, not only that, they brought McCauley on afterwards, and they said, you can't do that, can you? Collinsworth said, I thought that, you have to declare within a timely manner. And, of course, McCauley gives the, they shouldn't have let that happen. But
right.
They never
don't
rip them about it. This eye in the sky again. The eye in the sky didn't fix that fumble in real time, but it fixed the throw of the flag apparently, because I heard them come on and go, well, replay assist came on and helped with the flag thing. So when does replay assist actually happen and when doesn't it?
I don't know. Again, think about it in any other sport. That's like saying, like, oh, shit, you know what? We don't want to intentionally walk that guy. Send him back home. We're going to pitch to him. Hang on. No, we're going to pitch to the guy. Oh, okay. All right. We'll take the walk away and put the guy back in the batter's box. We'll pitch to him. I didn't realize he had, we have a lefty-lefty matchup. So, yeah. We'll pitch to him.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. I didn't even see that happen.
I didn't see it
either. So essentially, like, Sirianni's going to decline it. And then when he sees the other team line up to go for it, he says, "Oh, never mind. If they're going to go for it, I don't want to decline it."
Yeah,
you don't get
that's
that.
exactly what
You
he
don't
did.
get that.
That's exactly, Mike. That was exactly. I mean, the Ram offense stayed on the field. Sirianni, all of a sudden, you can see him. They have the camera on him, and you see him mouth the official like, "No, we don't want to. We'll take the penalty. We'll take it. We'll take it."
Bullshit.
Again, too late, dude.
Now you should have to make that call before you know what the offense is going to do. That's
I don't know if you saw late in the game, the Eagles lined up for a tush push, and the Rams jumped off sides. And after they jump off sides, Sirianni's on the sideline.
Yep.
First down. He's pointing he's a complete jackass.
Isn't that a violent gesture? You can't do this, I thought. How do you know the difference between first down or, I don't know. That looks like it's a violent gesture, if you ask me.
Has that really happened before? Where you can change your decision based on what the other team does?
I didn't think it had, but Sirianni,
I mean, that's unbelievable. Like,
it happened last night.
I didn't see it, and I honestly could not think that could happen.
Novak, I was watching in real time. They declined the penalty. I was sitting there thinking, like, oh yeah, you want to move him back. Not only, because I was thinking that. I'm like, 4th and 3, they're down by 13. I'm like, they'll probably go for it. Like, I think you would move. Like, would you rather have 3rd and 13 or 4th and 3 in that situation? They were on the 14, so they pushed them back to the 24. 3rd and 13 at the 24. So I was thinking, I would push them back. And before all that happened, only because like today in today's NFL, 4th and 3, they're going to go for it. And like I said, then they got another 5-yard sack, and unbelievably they missed a field goal after that. So everything worked out. Everything works out for the Eagles.
I don't want to belabor this, but when it first happened, they bring Terry McAulay in, and Terry McAulay goes, "Well, the ref might have just assumed he was going to accept the penalty, and then realized they asked him, and he took it." But then they show the video, and Collinsworth is like, "No, he changed his mind. He you could see when he sees the offense come back on the field that he's going to take the penalty, and that's when Terry McAulay goes, "Oh yeah, they shouldn't have given it to him."
In the same game, and Scott, earlier in the game on the first drive, they shouldn't have been granted that challenge. The play was running before that one drove me nuts. I mean, it was a fumble. When they showed the replay, I'm like, oh shit, you better snap it, LA, because that was a fumble. And so he was right to challenge it, but I'm sorry, man, it was too late. You got the flag down too late. They don't do that anymore. They just allow it.
This eye in the sky thing is just it's another way to bring out subjectivity into the game.
Yeah.
So we got a ton of
unbelievable.
So we got a ton of questions tonight. We'll start with our friend Peacock. And he asks, we covered it a little bit because it was the opening, but are we worried about neighbors being a malcontent and the impact on the locker room? And this is the type of thing that happens when a season goes south, and I am worried about it. I'm worried about any wide receiver that's a diva. I mean, just look at the antics George Pickens is doing in Pittsburgh, and you just don't know when these guys are going to mouth off, pop off, talk about not getting the ball, throwing their coaches under the bus, and you don't know what impact that's going to have. In a lost season, maybe it doesn't have much of an impact. What if this happens in a season when you're 500 vying for a playoff spot, or you're a playoff team and you don't get the ball one game and you mouth off again? It's always a concern to me.
Yeah.
I have a problem mostly because he's a rookie, and just shut your mouth. I mean, what have you done in this league? You haven't done anything. You came out and had a couple of good weeks at the beginning of the year. What have you done to deserve to go out there and cry, "Get me the ball"? I mean, we've been trying to get you the ball. You drop it. What is it? What about this situation makes him think this is a good time to do it? Establish yourself. Be somebody. Play hard on this losing team and prove that you earned the right to complain like that. I mean, the guy ended up with 6 catches in the game. I mean, his point was, well, it's 30-0, but well, score, like, stop, get open. I get it. You're right now. And then it seems like a cheap time to take shots too, with Jones gone and DeVito in there. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but yeah, I don't want these guys on my team. I don't want it to be this guy. Another shot I have at Dable is, on Hard Knocks, Dable told him, "Are you going to be a guy who is going to complain if you don't get the ball?" He said, Probably. I mean, Neighbor said, and Dable said, well, good. I like that. I want you to want the ball. I want you to win. But don't worry, guys. Dable, talk to him today.
Yeah, you talk to him.
Shut up. Just shut up.
I mean, for me, look, if he had approached it a little bit differently and it was like, I want to be able to help the team win. I'm disappointed I didn't get the ball until the second half, fine. But the gum chewing and the sunglasses and the sort of like dismissive way he handled the question, he came off very douchey. I would be concerned if I were you all that this guy is just a malcontent and he's another Odell Beckham and you've got like another diva on your hands. There's a very different approach in my opinion.
Yeah. So Peacock also asks, who has it worse, Giant fans or Jet fans, and which team gets out of the hole quicker? I actually think Jets fans have it worse than Giant fans. I mean, Giant fans, again, we're in a really bad time right now, but we still have Super Bowls to reflect on. We still have Eli Manning on every week that we look at and can say, hey, that guy brought us 2 Super Bowls. So I think right now that Jet fans have it worse. And saying that, though, I do think because of some of the salary cap situations that the Jets have, that the Giants are probably going to get out of this hole a little quicker, especially if they are able to draft a quarterback that can help them turn around like some of these other franchises have done. They're not just a quarterback away, though. We're seeing that right now. But I do think the Giants, at least salary cap wise and personnel wise, probably are in a better shape where they can turn around the roster faster than the Jets can.
I don't know. I feel like we've surpassed the Jets in terms of just laughing stock ability, if that's such a thing. We are at least, yeah, Scott. I understand. I mean, as far as the history and past championships, but that doesn't feel like it even exists right now. And like, if looking right now in terms of sheer ability to compete and put something that's resembling a National Football League team on the field, the Giants are further away than the Jets even. That's the way I'm seeing it. And I know, what we dumping Jones and the situation we're in at quarterback, and it all starts at the quarterback, of course. But I don't know, man. That's a tough question, Peacock. It really is, because the Jets don't even have like a coach. They got the dick. It's just collectively just a goddamn mess. Both these franchises. I mean, as I'm starting to answer it, I'm like, well, wait a minute. The Jets are pretty. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's equally, which is not a great answer, but it's almost like I don't know who's in front. I don't know who's in front, but by in front, I mean who's worse.
I would say, and you're going to probably be shocked that I would say this, but I actually think the Giants are a little worse off. And here's the only reason I say that is you are, like I've said, I think on 2 weeks ago, I said this, you're off kilter. Like the Jets are a clean break everything. I still don't know what the Giants are going to do. You've got, you're going to go let your coach game. Maybe your GM's going to stay. I don't know what's happening here. And you've not been at rock bottom before, so you don't know what this is like. I've been here many times, and so this is something that can be turned around. We haven't made the playoffs in 15 years, but we can't look at the past. You're looking at what's moving forward, and moving forward, I think the Jets have more talent than the Giants. I do, more young talent, and we are a clean break. You are not at a clean break yet. If you're at a clean break, then I could say the Giants, but right now I think the Giants are worse off.
Yeah, I actually think the Giants and the Jets fans right now, for a lot of the reasons Cardone just said, it's the same. It's the same. Yeah. I mean, you have to look back too far for the Giants to see the good times. So we can't even see them from here. The Jets can't see them because they're not there.
We've never been there.
So, I think we're about the same. We talked about a couple weeks ago, like if the Giants and Jets merge teams right now,
we wouldn't be a playoff team.
We still wouldn't be a playoff team. I think that right. Says it all.
Take the best players, or what? Yeah, take what you think are the best players from each team, and what's that team's record? Are we 500? Like what is
9-8? Maybe 9 and 8,
Maybe?
8, 9.
Maybe.
Something like
I don't
that.
know.
Maybe.
Yeah. I just don't. I think both franchises are, the fan bases of both are in the same place for the first time in a long time. And, maybe the Jets are a little bit closer to climbing out. Maybe it's the Giants. I mean, it's hard to tell. It really depends on this draft coming up, a lot of it. But they're both miserable. It's miserable right now, and the outlook is miserable.
I mean, really, when it comes down to it, too, the Giants' bar is Super Bowls. The Jets' bar is like 500. And so
Not their bar.
you're a lot farther away from Super Bowls than we are 500. So, let's be honest. That's kind of what we're looking at.
So Mike asked for some questions that are not football related last week, and my buddy Mike Harrison, he obliged. He has 3 of them.
Nice.
All of them are going to spark some discussion here. So the first
Good.
one,
Let us have a little bit of fun. I mean,
Yeah,
what we don't want to talk about football.
I'm
Cardone, you
gonna
missed
give
it.
this-
Cardone, I don't know if you listened last week, but we had just a random question out of the thin blue air. What was it last week? The question?
who was the better Satan? Was it Al
Yeah.
Pacino in some movie, or Jack Nicholson in Witches of Eastwick?
Oh,
Clearly
I gotta
the
go
best part of
Jack.
that pod.
yeah.
So then we spent time trying to figure out who Satan was in Little Nicky. It turned out to be Harvey Keitel, but
Also a great
So-
Satan.
So, question this week. I'm going to throw this to Cardone since he wasn't at the last pod, and this is right up his alley. Who would win a fight between Kramer and George?
Oh,
I think that came up on one of the episodes between George and Jerry. The question was, I think, pitched to Elaine, and she actually, I think, I have to go.
She said George.
Oddly enough, I think I go with George because George himself, when he was explaining how he would beat Jerry, he's like, "Oh, I would do all kinds of legal stuff, like whatever I have to do, groin stuff, like he would do whatever he could." I think George would be a little bit more scrappier, if you will. Kramer's kind of clumsy, he's got just his physical comedic clumsiness, I think, would kind of give him off balance. I think, George has kind of got that low center of gravity. I think George kind of packs a punch. He's kind of that low, he's like a butterball. He's tough to topple over. Where I think if you get Kramer off balance, all you gotta do is like shove him down the stairs or something like that. So I gotta go with George, just because of the groin stuff too.
groin stuff.
Groin stuff.
If George had his Jamaican housekeeper oil him up like he did in that one episode, he'd be really tough to beat.
That's right.
No, so you got to give reach and height to Kramer, but power to George, right? George with the low center of gravity. I don't know. I like the idea. I think it's a good fight, but I got to side with George in a fight. If George gets him on the ground, it's over.
No. I mean, look, Kramer experienced it. He fought off the mugger while he was driving the bus, and
he's Batman,
making all the stops.
That's
you might have changed my vote.
And he said,
Novak.
"He's Batman." You're right.
Batman.
I'm Batman.
He also punched out Mickey Mantle at the at fantasy camp. So yeah, Kramer definitely knows how to get in the mix. Yeah, that's true. Because, I don't know. I may have to reconsider that
Reggie
one.
Miller too.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Kramer's also experienced in the martial arts. He knows karate.
That's right. He was kicking the crap out of those kids.
They're 9 years old. We're at the same level, Jerry.
I think Kramer's winning in a landslide.
I think the real fight I want to see the finish of the fight between Elaine and Frank. That's the one we needed to see.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite episodes. You made all the stops. They kept ringing the bell.
Ringing the bell.
So,
yeah, but you're right. The one where, at the end, that was the one where George was the bad boy, and he was like breaking down, crying in the police station because, well, why do you have to yell at me like that? Yeah.
Yeah. My George ain't smart enough to hatch a scheme like that. You can say that again. What's that supposed to mean?
Yeah. What the hell does that mean? That means whatever the hell you want it to mean. I could drop you like a bag of dirt.
So the next question, I'll start off with Novak. So your first celebrity crush, and how old were you?
I was really young, and so God, I hope my wife doesn't listen to this one. I think it's when I first noticed that I like the opposite gender. It was Olivia Newton-John.
Oh,
in Greece?
In Greece, when she came out in the all black, and I was like, whoa, what is this?
What is happening here?
What is happening here? I like this. So Olivia Newton-John was going to be my first. So I was probably, what, 7, 8 years old? Yeah.
Good one.
Cardone.
yeah. I don't even know how to like narrow this down to just one or the first. Who even remembers? But I tell you what, I could still remember being a kid. And like, I think my mom, like before she went to work, because was like when she was a stay-at-home mom, she used to watch All My Children back in whatever decade that was, the freaking 70s or something like that. And I can still remember checking out freaking Erica Kane, played by none other than Susan Lucci.
Susan Lucci.
And she was just a smoke show. So I might have to go with Erica Kane, played by Susan Lucci on All My Children, as like my first crush. Absolutely was enthralled with her.
Nice one.
Because she was like devious and she was also just a real New York bitchy, just upscale she had a lot of sass.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is. I like that how you went that way. That's a good one. Well, for me, I'm of that age, as we all are, obviously, where the Farrah Fawcett poster was you had to have it. Like, you couldn't not have it in your bedroom when you were a kid. But no, for me, if I have to just name one, the first one that, like, and this is a weird one, you guys are going to be like, what? Because there's other people on the show that are probably better looking. But I had a gigantic crush on Joe from Facts of Life. I did. It was huge. Huge.
Was she the athletic one?
She was the tough girl. Yeah.
She was the tough. Yeah, no, she was her and Blair. Used to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blair
Nancy
was the
McKeon.
prissy one. Yeah.
Nancy
Nancy
McKeon.
McKeon.
That's
And
an awesome one.
we just lost one. Another crush I had. Like, I probably watched Mr. Mom 1,000 times just for Terry
Terry
Garr.
Garr.
That's
Oh,
why.
yeah.
That's why I was going to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. God, I didn't
No,
think
that's
we were
fine.
going there.
No, I was just going to say we lost one with Terry Garr. And if it wasn't Terry Garr, then I was never, on the Wonder Woman bandwagon like a lot of people were. But like, I Suzanne Summers was one I thought too.
Oh yeah, Three's Company.
Three's Company.
Nice.
Yep.
Speaking of that, yeah, actually, can I give an honorable mention? I just thought of another one because, again, for some reason, I'm thinking about when I was homesick from school, and like, so obviously, All My Children was in the afternoon. I can't believe I forgot about this one. Diane Parkinson on The Price is Right. When they would come out, when she would come out wearing a bikini in the Showcase Showdown, my God. Diane Parkinson. I might have to put her.
I'm glad he said The
Yeah.
Price is Right, because you just said Diane Parkinson. I'm sitting there trying to rack my brain on who that is.
Oh, Price is Right.
Oh, I know. Once you said it, I know exactly who you're talking.
Yeah, yeah, she was.
I love that you somehow knew her last name. That's amazing. That is amazing. If you had said Diane from Price is Right, I think we all got it. Like, we all would have known. Cardone comes over the top with the last name.
That's right. That's how you know it's a crush.
I got to say, the most bizarre one of the four of us has got to be Joe from The Facts of Life.
Yeah.
I
mean, Olivia Newton-John, Susan Lucci. Who'd you say, Scott?
Suzanne Summers.
Suzanne Summers, and then Joe from The Facts of Life.
All classic.
Yeah.
At
All very
least he didn't
classic,
say
I would agree.
If he said Natalie, I'd really be disappointed.
No,
Was Tootie on that show?
Tootie
was. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mrs.
No,
Garrett.
it was Joe. I believe I wrote her a fan letter and got like a signed picture back. I think I did. I have some
that's
memory
awesome.
of that. I think I did.
The other one I really liked.
I was probably the only dude sending her those, if you know what I mean.
The other one I really liked too was, do you remember Erin Gray? She was from
Oh yeah, Battlestar Galactica.
Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
Buck Rogers.
Or Buck Rogers, yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, I got
she
the
was-
Olivia Newton-John poster, and my mom was like, "Oh, you must like that movie." I'm like, "Very much. I really love."
I love
the movie. It
Grease.
was
Great movie.
Oh.
Great.
I know exactly the
She's
time.
got that
the time she
accent,
came
right?
out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's there with the black. She goes, "What do you make
Yep.
of it, stud?"
Yep. That's exactly. I was the stud, thinking in my mind.
So last question. We popped this one up there because I thought this would be tough on the fly to get this, so I prepped you guys earlier. So
if you could change the ending of a TV show or movie, what would it be? I'll start here because I really liked Seinfeld. I hated the way Seinfeld ended. It probably was it, in the scheme of things, it probably was the right way to end it. I just didn't like that ending. I wish they had just sort of left it open where you could continue to go about your business or just have some sort of funny wrap up rather than the situation they were in and we end up in jail. So I don't know how I would change it, but I would have had a different ending.
I think the idea behind that, like I can see how they got in the writer's room and said, this is good, but the execution was a little off. Yeah. Which this is all addressed on Curb, by the way. If you guys have watched the final season of Curb, this is all addressed in there. But yeah, I went with one that's a little bit off the beaten path because it was one of my favorite shows and it ended so poorly that, and I'm not going Game of Thrones, but I could. But you guys remember the show The Shield with the commission?
Yeah. The commish.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that show, and it was consistently good all the way through. And the way they had that end up, I don't like it. He just got like sort of chained to a desk job, and they sort of insinuated that he was going to kill himself. You know, he opened his desk drawer and he saw a gun in there, and that's kind of how it ended. And but I just would like to have. I wanted him to get away with it in every way, shape, and form. So he got away basically with all the bad stuff he did, but he ended up like chained to this desk job for the remainder of his career, which was pretty much like prison for him. Exactly the same thing, which, you know, I think that was the metaphor they were kind of going for there is you could like Vic Mackey, this is prison for Vic Mackey, but I wish they had followed it through. Just let him get killed, let him get caught, you know, whatever it is that's going to happen. But I thought that was, again, I could see where the writers were going there. They were trying to get a metaphor going, but it didn't land. I don't think it landed.
I'm going to say, and this is probably an unpopular one, and it's probably very cliche, but I hated the ending of Sopranos. I wanted closure. I like closure. I don't like not knowing. It bothered me. I was not like, this is so creative, and I wasn't into the discussion thing. Bullshit. I would have rather had some closure on that, so I hated that ending.
Yeah. Sort of the same type of ending as The Shield, where they just kind of left it up to the viewer to decide what's going to happen next.
No.
Yeah.
Stop. I mean, we don't invest all this time for me to decide what happened.
Yeah. Like, I'm not the writer. You can come on.
Tell me what goes on.
So you guys are going to leave it to me to add some perversion here, of course, because I got to go that direction, of course.
Yeah,
you know, we've been talking about a couple 80s classic sitcoms and the likes of, so Scott's already mentioned Suzanne Summers. So I don't know how many people remember the show Three's Company, which starred John Ritter as Jack Tripper and living with two girls and down there in Santa Monica, California. And Jack Tripper, probably my all-time, with putting him right up there with Sam Malone and, you know, Kramer and Costanza and all those guys is absolute all-time. I may even have Tripper at number one as far as my all-time favorite sitcom character. So if I think about, you know, I've seen every episode of Three's Company, which went off the air probably like in '84 or something like that. And you know, Jack ended up getting married, which they had a spin-off, Three's a Crowd, which flopped after like 3 episodes, so that went nowhere. But I think before that show ended, I don't remember at that time. It was, you know, Janet was there the whole time. Who knows? Janet was so like nondescript. We don't even know what happened to her. I think she used to work in a flower shop. We don't know what happened, where Janet ended up. And then Terry, who was the hot nurse, she moved. I don't know where she ended up with. Maybe going to move in with some doctor or some crap like that. But I think before all that happened, what I would have done, and this of course is the if this was the porn parody here, I would have had all of them like start off at the Regal Beagle and just tie one on, end up back at the apartment for an all-out full-fledged orgy with I mean, Larry's involved. You know, you bring Larry down, of course. You have Greedy Gretchen's there. You got everyone's there. Janet, Chrissy, Cindy, Terry, you throw in Lana, Furley's even in the fray. You bring all these and just have one like just
Mrs. Roper.
Yeah, right. Who couldn't? I mean, my God, was she?
You know, she would have started it.
Yeah. She was absolutely, yeah, exactly. Right. How could I forget Helen Roper, right? And while that's all going on, Stanley Roper is downstairs asleep on the couch while all this, this
That would have been a great shot.
Yeah, this
That would've
wild
been a great
orgies
ending.
going
Flash
on.
from the orgy down to
Exactly,
Stanley
down to
sleeping in his chair
down to
with a
Roper.
beer.
Yeah, but Furley's even involved. Everyone, and they just have an all-out, just full-fledged on orgy before this, before the series wraps up, and they go their separate ways just once. You mean to tell me like Janet Janet lived there for like 9 years. She never didn't have one guy come back to the apartment in 9 years. Come on, get out of here.
No, they owed us that. The fans deserve that.
Did.
Yep.
That's what we watched every week for. Is this it? Is this it? Is this going to be the week? They all go down to the Beagle and get ripped and come back.
Regal Beagle. They just tie one on.
Beagle.
Yeah.
I was going to close by, giving heartfelt thanks to everyone, and now I got to follow the orgy of the Three's companies. That's sort of tough to do, So, but guys, we're season 5. It's Thanksgiving week, and just want to thank all of our supporters, all of our listeners. Rugged Uncle this year being a sponsor, the Carolina Beer Temple for hosting us in the preseason. It's been a just a craptacular year for both of our teams, and yet we're still having fun every week. We're complaining and we're bitching up a storm, and we hate the NFL with all of our fiber at times, but we're still thankful to be able to just have this time together and spout off and have a little bit of therapy. So I thank the three of you guys. I thank our listeners. Just very thankful coming into Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better, Scott. It's well said, well put. And thankful that we're able to do this. And it's fun. I said in a disastrous season, I look forward to this each and every week. And, it's God bless us in terms of dealing with this bullshit that we're lifelong fans. We don't deserve this. We deserve a lot better. But, at least we have this pod to kind of get us through some of these week to week. So thankful for you guys. Appreciate you guys.
Drink heavily on Thanksgiving just to get the image of Mrs. Roper's panties being down at her ankles out of my mind.
I'm very thankful to you guys. I could not get together and talk about the NFL or the Giants right now with any other group of guys. It would have to be you guys, because someone else is going to say something that sets me off. I know we're all on the same plane here. Scott's the closest we got to optimistic, which would drive me nuts right now. But even he's beat down. I'm thankful it's you guys, and I'm thankful we have this time to get this out. And I would still do this if no one was listening. But thank you to all of our fans, obviously, out there. Thank you for downloading every week and listening. And I hope everyone has a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you on the other side.
Yeah.
Agree.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
See you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.